Everybody, today it's Wednesday, June 11th. Welcome to the Hang Up. What's my hang up today? Well, there's too many things to even begin to say I have 4 different things, but one of them I'm just going to skip over. Let me say at the outset, it's possible that I might say some things that once upon a time, if somebody had told me these things, I would have viewed it as kind of an unwarranted conspiracy theory. I would have understood their suspicions, but we're not there yet in a normal world. But the world has changed, and the world is absolutely not normal, in part because we have the world's richest man and the billionaire convicted felon president battling it out, while Pete Hegseth, and on behalf of Trump, is sending troops into Los Angeles over the riots. And it's Pride Month, and I've just become pretty much convinced that the internet, and so in general and social media specifically, is an absolutely failed experiment that has not only made us as a society dumber, but I don't know that it's fixable. So on the Trump-Elon front, I don't know how many of you aren't aware, but the girls are fighting. They are not pleased with each other after spending a whole bunch of money to essentially buy a presidency. Elon was not happy with how things were going, and Trump says that Elon was wearing thin, so he decided to fire him, but he didn't use that word because, you're still talking to the richest guy on the planet. And they had this little back and forth battle where Trump was like, oh yeah, Elon was wearing thin, I let him go. I don't know why he's complaining about this electric vehicle stuff. He knew about it long before that, which, as others have pointed out, why would Elon know what was in a bill? What was his job again with the government? And why would he know that stuff? I don't know. And then it built up to the point where Elon said, hey, Trump's in the Epstein files. And I was like, well, duh. But that actually got me thinking. We already knew Trump's in the Epstein files. There's pictures of them together. They were friends. The question is not whether he's in those files, but what is in those files. But before I get to that little specific, this battle is cooling down thanks to J.D. Vance making a phone call to Elon, and Elon regrets some of the things that he said, and Trump said that he's ready to forgive Musk, as now that Musk has lost about $27 billion of his net worth over the past few days. And, Trump made it clear, hey, if Elon goes and starts supporting candidates I don't like, there are going to be consequences. And maybe in addition to reviewing his government contracts, maybe all of those investigations of his businesses that Doge shut down, maybe they could start those back up. Trump didn't say that. I'm just filling in the gaps there that are missing. But I'm pretty sure all of this will be over soon, and we likely won't hear from Elon again for quite a while. Seriously, I think the resolution to this is that there won't be any serious consequences for either of them, and Elon will go back to being not as public and relevant, at least in the realm of politics. That's my bet. But think about this. We already knew Trump's in the Epstein files, and there are people in the government, in the current administration, who've been in a position to review those files. How would Elon know about those files and what's in them, and whether or not Trump's in them? How would he have had access to them? That is, I bet, going to be his out. I haven't seen the Epstein files. I was just poking. I don't have any information about what they actually say. I was just prodding in anger. And that's the tweet that he deleted. I'm going to bet that's kind of the path to go down. It's an easy out. But what it does do is it makes you ponder the question, if I'm Trump, I just want to throw up just thinking about that, but just for a second, if I'm Trump, I know what I've done and what I haven't done, and I know what can and can't be in those Epstein files. And I'm now the most powerful person on the planet. If those files could exonerate me and show people that there's nothing nefarious in there about me, I would release them. Now, I know that there are other people who might not release them in order to protect others. Some decent people might want to keep some of that information hidden in order to protect the victims. Some more diplomatic people might want to keep that information hidden because they would be exposing some people for which there is no likelihood of consequences and no real benefit. But Trump doesn't give a shit about any of those people. So either the Epstein files absolutely condemn him, or they condemn people who are paying him and supporting him financially, and he doesn't want to risk losing their financial support because he knows he's actually terrible at business and would end up bankrupt over and over again, despite his Bitcoiny copy, whatever. But here's the thing. The Biden administration had those files. You would have thought that if there was something in there that condemned Trump or exonerated him, that administration might have released that information somewhere between the start of the election and Inauguration Day. And yet they didn't. Nothing about this makes sense. If the files exonerate him, he should have released him. If they condemn him, Biden should have released him. There's more going on here, and I can't come up with what it is. I'm confused. But in order to potentially distract from that, Trump activated the National Guard of California in response to protests. There were California citizens protesting ICE's deportation policies and processes and the administration in general. And so Trump activated the National Guard without the approval or notification of Gavin Newsom, who's the governor of California. By the way, Los Angeles is now under curfew. The mayor has done that. And there are a lot of folks lying about what's going on. When I posted about it this morning, there were a bunch of MAGA troll bots from accounts that haven't posted anything publicly in months or years, and were probably accounts that people left vacant, that just scraping names and password the bots all get, and then they can look like they're real people who've been around for ages when they are just shit stirrers and spreading misinformation. The most common things is that they comment on is that they demonstrate that they don't have any understanding of due process. When I made a comment about due process, people are like, they didn't get due process coming in, they're not getting it going out. Yeah, thanks for showing me that you don't have any clue what due process is, because coming in, even if you are illegal, if you're not entering legally, has nothing to do with due process. Due process is once someone has been suspected of and potentially charged with a crime, what steps need to take place before you can take action. It's what prevents us from seeing our neighbors just kidnapped and disappeared and sent to El Salvador or somewhere. It's the thing that guarantees, whether you are a citizen or not, the United States does not get to trample either your basic human rights or the rights afforded you by the Constitution. And yes, the Constitution does afford rights to non-citizens. So they don't know what due process is. They don't care about the rule of law. They have become convinced by misinformation and confusion and their own pity party and bigotry that the left does. The left is the one weaponizing the justice system, when in fact it's the right weaponizing the justice system. Trump called for the arrest of Gavin Newsom, and when asked what he'd done wrong, it was he ran for governor. Oh, congrats. Is that a crime now? No, they don't care what's a crime. To them, the law is not about justice. It is a military branch that they can then use to make what they want happen, happen. As all of us know, when protests start and they ramp up a little bit, there are opportunistic people who will then go loot stuff and break stuff. there are gangs that are engaging in violence because they know the police are distracted in other areas. They're stealing things and everything else. But the protesters get blamed for a good chunk of that, whether those people are actual protesters or not, whether or not they are false flag actors or not. Trump is literally saying the protesters are actors. And since we know that if Trump accuses the left of something, he's probably guilty of it, and maybe more so, the question then becomes, are the worst offenses out there, are those paid actors on behalf of the administration, on behalf of Project 2025, on behalf of MAGA? I don't know. And we may never find out because nobody cares about the rule of law or due process anymore. A couple hundred people have been arrested so far. We have a right to protest peacefully. And the reports that I have got from people who live in Los Angeles, who've been to those protests, are the same over and over again. And that is that they are out there engaged in a peaceful protest, and it is the presence of law enforcement shepherding them into tighter and tighter areas with only one way out that are actually amping things up. Somebody from Australia said, "Oh, no, I've seen the footage. It's terrible there. It's like a war zone." Well, clearly you've never been in a war zone. But the only thing people in Australia should be talking about is the fact that an Australian reporter here in Los Angeles, while talking about what was going on with a line of law enforcement behind her and peaceful protesters around, was talking about things ramping up. And while she's talking, you can see in the video, one of the law enforcement people turns over to where she's standing and fires and shoots her in the leg, non-lethal rounds. They're using rubber bullets. And she's been interviewed since then and is surviving. That's what's happening. What was that reporter doing again? Were they engaged in any violence? Oh, well, it doesn't matter. I saw some of them with Mexican flags, and that's when they lost me. Oh, well, first of all, there's nothing illegal about waving a Mexican flag or being proud of your Mexican heritage or doing anything like that. Well, they burned an American flag. That's also not illegal. I have a box of American flags downstairs, and I will be burning one and filming it the instant our government tries to tell me that I can't. I have a box of them just for that purpose. I'm an 8-year veteran of the United States military. The flag is a piece of fucking cloth. Well, it's destruction of property. Okay. Yeah, there was destruction of property. I don't know who did it. All of those people should be prosecuted. Absolutely. Well, you'd be okay with it if Biden did it. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be okay with any of this if that's what was going on. Yeah, but they're not Americans. Some of them are. And by the way, how do you tell without due process? How do you make sure you've got the right person and that you have a cause to hold them or to act? Well, this is nothing at all like January 6th. Correct, because on January 6th, they were violently attacking police officers, breaking into the Capitol, and then they got pardoned. Because the party of law and order is fine with their people doing stuff and not at all fine with somebody else doing less than they do. There's nothing going on in Los Angeles that rises to the level of proper riots or war zones or anything like that. And anybody who's engaged in that needs to be arrested. But my understanding is that the police in LA were not happy that the National Guard came in. They thought they had a handle on it. And we know that this sort of thing ramps things up. Calling in the National Guard without going through the governor is a serious violation of states' rights. Something that Kristi Noem knew about when she was worried Biden was going to do it. Shut your pie hole. Sorry for the phone call. Kristi Noem knew about that when she thought Biden was going to do it and made a post about how awful it would be to violate states' rights like that. And yet somehow they forget about that when they want to do it. Chrissy Nome, by the way, also reportedly asked Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, when he was sending the military out to Los Angeles, to arrest rioters. This would be a violation of the Posse Comitatus Act. You cannot deploy U.S. military against citizens in the United States. The internet is a failed experiment. And it's spreading misinformation to the point where we see in Los Angeles military involvement not only in something that should have been easier to handle, but in a way that draws attention and justifies the administration taking over states' rights and National Guard. And so they're going to do it in California. Here's where we get to the quasi-conspiracy thing. They're going to do it in California because it's the lefty state. It's got a governor that, is hit or miss and lefty and not going to go along with Trump and is probably a presidential candidate. And so if they can use California as a test bed for taking the National Guard, they will then have set a precedent so they can do it everywhere else. Where are the governors standing up saying, I'm with Gavin Newsom? The president had no right or authority to bypass that step of going through the governor. It was unnecessary, it was undesired, and didn't go through the governor. Meanwhile, the governor of Texas has decided that he's going to go ahead and call up the Texas National Guard now in anticipation of protests that are going to be happening in San Antonio and other places in the coming days and weeks. Fascism is here. A police state is coming. And what the administration is doing in California is going to be used as the precedent and justification for them to continue doing it elsewhere. I'm sorry, I'm getting like 18 messages. I think I might have just gotten a prescription delivered to the door. I don't know. It's incredibly frustrating to wake up every day and feel like this can't be real. To know that the truth and facts don't seem to matter, don't seem to sway anybody, that the administration is actively lying, that they are accusing the other side of doing the things that they're doing and that they're doing in a worse way. It is constant. I'll probably talk about the failed experiment of the internet some other time, but the short version is that my presence on social media is now going to be friends only and one-way communications where I'm not going to let non-friends comment. I can't post anything as a semi-public figure without getting flooded by bots saying the most awful things, exposing their racist views and the bigoted views of the people behind those bots, spreading just lies and misinformation left and right. It's annoying and obnoxious. But in honor of Pride Month, I do have one final story for Pride Month. Some of this took place after my time as a Christian. When I was a Christian, my favorite Christian band was Petra. I've spoken about it before. I think they're brilliant. I think they wrote some amazingly good songs from a musical standpoint as well as from a scriptural standpoint. I don't get to listen to Petra anymore because I can't stand most of the lyrics now. But the music is still outstanding. And I'm pretty sure that if I were to put in Not of This World or something like that, I would enjoy it, provided I could shut out the lyrics in the meaning. But I was out of the Christian rock scene by the time DC Talk came around. And definitely, I don't think I've ever heard a song by Newsboys other than the one that was in God's Not Dead. But for those who haven't heard, Michael Tate, who is the longtime frontman for the Newsboys and formerly a member of Grammy-winning group DC Talk, is now facing multiple allegations of sexual misconduct and substance abuse. and has acknowledged this. See, the thing is that Tate evidently liked cocaine and lived a double life. He also liked sensual and sexual interaction with men. And if you are the front man of a popular Christian rock group, well, that's something you've got to keep hidden. As a matter of fact, if you are an identifiable active member of any Christian community, that's something you've got to keep hidden. Or at least find the other closeted queers in the community so that you can interact with them. He posted an apology. He left the Newsboys. His band knew something was up, but they claimed they didn't know how bad it was. And Michael Tate, yesterday, posted this confession. Quote, recent reports of my reckless and destructive behavior, including drug and alcohol abuse and sexual activity, are sadly largely true. For some 2 decades, I used and abused cocaine, consumed far too much alcohol, and at times touched men in an unwanted, sensual way. Unwanted, sensual way is pretty much an admission of sexual assault. He continues, I'm ashamed of my life choices and actions and make no excuses for them. I simply will call it what God calls it, sin. I don't blame anyone or anything but myself. While I might dispute certain details in the accusations against me, I do not dispute the substance of them. When I abruptly left Newsboys in January, I did so to get help. I was not healthy physically or spiritually, and I was tired of leading a double life. I spent 6 weeks at a treatment center in Utah receiving help that may have saved my life from ultimate destruction. I've been clean and sober since, though I still have lots of hard work ahead of me. I'm not going to read the rest of his apology. He mentions his being ashamed, and of course he does what they all do, which is, I'm not expecting forgiveness for any of you, and I'm genuinely sorry on behalf of what I did, but I'm mostly sorry if what I've done has hindered anyone in their faith and trust of Jesus. I understand that you shouldn't have faith in me anymore, or confidence in me, but don't let what I did hinder your walk with Jesus. Mr. Tate, you're gay, or you're bi, or you're pan, or you're curious, whatever it is. I'm glad you're getting help for your substance abuse problem. And I hope that you are getting help for your clear problem with boundary issues related to sexual assault. And that if you've done anything that warrants arrest and conviction, I hope that happens. But it's your religion here that is the problem. Because your religion convinced you that your desires were somehow sin, somehow a problem, something that was wrong, something that who you are fundamentally was bad and worth hiding. And because for 20 years you've been trying to hide it, but you can't. You failed over and over again. I'm glad you're working on yourself. But instead of being the poster boy for the repressed queer folk hiding in religion for the month of June 2025, you could be doing some actual good. You could be working to free yourself from the shackles of religion, to acknowledge and celebrate who you are, to work on yourself so that instead of being in a position to skulk around and do things inappropriately, you might be able to be in a joyous, loving, serious, or casual relationship with anyone of any gender that you want to interact with. But you won't. You will instead become another passe. Told you that dude was queer. Told you it was in the church. Hey, not a drag queen. Not a trans person. Just another active, prominent person in ministry doing what they say is wrong and assaulting people over it. It's unsurprising anymore There's almost no piece of news that could come out that could possibly surprise me anymore. The administration is a hot mess. The economy is a hot mess. The Democrats are a hot mess. Independents are a hot mess. I'm a hot mess. But so is the Catholic Church, Protestant churches, the Christian rock groups. You're all a hot mess. I have no way of knowing how to fix any of it. But the hypocrisy is no longer surprising. It's not even news. Every station has the words breaking news up about 23 and a half hours a day, including during some commercials. None of it's breaking news. Oh, it's something new, but it's the same old shit. And I don't know how we fix any of it. But what's happening in Los Angeles is both being viewed as an attempt to distract from the Epstein file stuff, which we don't know about. And yet it's also potentially the beginning of the militarization of a police state on behalf of an administration that values loyalty over competence, that has no respect for the law or precedent or due process, that views everyone else as a means to their end, and their end seems to be godlike, king-like power and profit. And I genuinely don't know. I don't understand this cult mindset that constantly tries to find, oh, well, I know he did this and it seemed kind of bad, but it was actually a 10D chess move that was leading to this thing here. This fight between Trump and Elon, this is actually a strategy to get a different version of a big, beautiful bill and maybe fix the war in Ukraine that he said he'd fix in a day, which, by the way, Russia's losing. 1 million Russians are dead now. They've gained like 20 square miles or something. Ukraine is fighting back. There's a war, a probable genocide in Gaza. Everything is on fire. So what are we supposed to focus on? That's the problem. And that was the plan. This is the plan. This is history repeating itself. This is Project 2025. This is fascism. And the police state is absolutely coming. And I find myself going, well, is this the beginning of the end of human civilization? Because for the first time in my life, and for the first time realistically in history, everything seems to be coming together to suggest that that's at least not outside the realm of possibility. And I genuinely hope that I'm wrong. I hope we get together and figure out how to do better, how to fix this. But what's happening is the right is pushing the left to behave in the ways that the right behaves. Well, they're breaking the rules. We should break the rules too. If they're lying, we should lie too. If they're getting violent, we should violent too. I get it. And at some point, it's inevitable. I don't know what to do. I just need to vent. So I'm in Zen mode again tonight. I did lose my Zen on Twitch stream a little bit yesterday, but I'm going to keep going with Zen mode like we've done the last few shows. It's been really good and generally really fun. Jim Barrows is here with us tonight, and Jim will be in charge of cutting me off along with other stuff. We're going to be taking calls on more. Theists will always have priority here, but some tips. If you're on the call, please just answer questions and be patient and leave space with the delay, because I guarantee you we are going to interrupt, and we are doing so to ask specific questions, not because we're opposed to debate. If you want to debate, look, a debate. This show is not a debate show. None of the shows are debate shows. We have miniature discussions. But the point is, if we're asking a question, it is to direct the conversation in a way that we can make sense of it. We can either agree with you or disagree with you. We can get better information to the people who are watching. So prepare for the interruptions. In fact, I'm going to tell you, I'm definitely not going to keep pushing for questions to be answered as many times as I have in the past. I'm going to ask a question. I'll ask it again. And then if I'm still not getting the answer, if Jim hasn't already weighed in on that, maybe Jim's got a better formulation of the question. But if we aren't getting an answer, it's best for us to stop and go on to another caller who's willing to engage or able to engage, or who we are able to engage with in a way that's productive. And then the caller who got hung up on can go off and think about things and come back when they've got the answer to the question we're asking. Lastly, I'm genuinely looking forward to the show tonight. You can't break my Zen, so let's have a great discussion. Jim, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. And I hope no one tries to break your Zen, although sometimes that is kind of funny. But let's not do that today. Let's just have some good conversations about fun stuff. So,
Yeah. So that was a really
I don't
long
know.
opening.
Yeah. Well, while you were reading it, I had noticed something had come across, or while you were going over it, I came across something that just got updated about 34 minutes ago on ground news that we are apparently, the U.S. is evacuating personnel from Iraq, Middle East, with mid growing tensions with Iran. 80% high factuality sources, well over, about 100 total. That's a little bit scary too, if Israel's getting ready to do something there. I mean, talk about heating things up. So
Well,
that's also not good.
I'm. Oh, and also RFK Jr. basically fired all of the scientists at the CDC that were informing them about vaccines, and is going to replace them with his people. But don't worry, it's not like he's a lunatic with dubious understanding of science, health, and vaccines or anything. We'll be fine. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll be fine.
Speaking of a didn't earn it hire, right? I mean, what the hell is this guy's qualifications? And I did think Trump could do worse than him, but apparently he's appointed 2 mid 20-year-olds to positions
Yes.
in government as well. So, I mean, those would be worse, no matter what their qualifications are. And as far as I can tell, they don't have any. Um, no expertise, nothing but loyalty to Trump. That's the biggest qualification, which is just dumber than a box of rocks. So it's just, yeah, the whole thing right now is just kind of weird and scary.
Yeah. I
I
genuinely,
really wish
I
I
don't want
hadn't
to.
sold my boat.
Yeah. I don't know what. When I say there are things that sound like conspiracy theory stuff to me, the Supreme Court has basically granted Trump near king-like powers, and where they haven't done it, he just defies them and is going to do what he wants. This battle
Right.
with Elon, I think, is going to end up being a big nothing burger, and we're not going to get any additional information, and it's going to be, oh, hey, LA blows up, and then Texas blows up, and then other states are blowing up, and then we're evacuating Iraq, and there's stuff going to be happening in the Middle East. War already is here in several places.
Yeah.
And then civil war or world war or massive conflicts like that seem to be possibly, though hopefully not, right around the corner. Everything about this has the feel and smell of ramping up towards increased conflict and increased governmental control and limited freedoms. I mean, we're supposed to have the right to protest. And as soon as we start doing it, if they're going to call in the National Guard and shepherd us, and ramp up, escalate the conflict, that's, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, and you're talking about posse comitatus. I mean, the history of that, the reason why that law exists and has since the Civil War is because the military is not really good at law enforcement. Its tactics don't, I mean, the tactics just don't go well with law enforcement. Like the infantry field manual in the Army, last time I read it was well over 20 years ago. I doubt it's changed though, because the strategy and the tactics are still sound. But if you're going to raid a house, your first the first thing you should do is fire a round from the main gun of a main battle tank through the front door. And then and then if you don't have that kind of firepower, it de-escalates from there. But that's kind of the first thing you should do. There's nothing about any of the training I got in the Army, and I was a RUMF. I wasn't infantry. I wasn't combat arms. Lent itself to doing any type of law enforcement. It's bringing about all the lethal force you can to bear on a target, and that is not law enforcement. Law enforcement is, in fact, the exact opposite of escalation. It's supposed to be de-escalation, and that's not what those guys are. I know a few Marines; they're not big on de-escalation either.
Yeah.
Just by personality, and he sent the Marines in there. It's just in violation of law, history. It's just dumber than a box of rocks thing to do. You don't add fire to a tinder box if you're trying to keep the fire from starting in the first place. But yeah, it's a mess.
All right.
Yeah.
I am ready. If you are ready, there are calls and there are some theists.
Yeah. Who do you want to take first?
Oh, I'm going to let you decide and shut me up and shut me down and make sure. I want to end tonight as zen as possible in a world that seems to be catching fire left and right.
Okay. Then let's start with I think MA is Massachusetts. Let's start with Melissa in Massachusetts. Welcome to the line. You wanted to talk about Matt's recent debate with Matthew, and you have some questions about statistics and arguments.
So
yes, I did. Thank you very much for taking my call.
We're not going to do this.
Just to preface it, my son, who's 38, is married and living in the heart of Los Angeles, and I'm kind of losing it. My dentist told me that he was going to make me a guard for me grinding my teeth at night, and I said, I don't grind my teeth at night. I grind them during the day, and I have to pretty much stay away from the news, which is why I love your channel. And I rewatched your debate with Matthew. I forget his last name. It was a couple of weeks ago. And yesterday I rewatched it. And he started out, and he was tough to understand. And this is a dumb question, I know, but suddenly it spun into statistics. And I want to know why statistics, how that plays into proving if there's a God or not. I'm
sorry, Melissa, but we're not going to do this tonight. I'm working on a full analysis of the Bayes law and the Bayesian analysis that people often use as an actual video explaining all this, and it's too much to go into tonight. So when I saw the call queue, I was like, well, we either need to tell Melissa to wait until that video comes out, or I'll tell her myself when we get. There's a video coming with more details.
Yeah, and I'd just like to point out that you can't make a definitive statement like there is a God based on probabilities, right? Because we can never get to 100%. So you just get to a high likelihood or a low likelihood. You can say things like that. You can express it as a percentage, 90% or whatever. But yeah, as soon as you're doing that, you're no longer making a deductive argument, which means that your conclusion cannot be 100% true because your premises cannot be 100% true. So
that's right.
That's the long and short of it.
I saw a challenge to Chat GPT about whether there's a God or not, and of course the proposition was that there could be a God. So of course you give equal weight to both sides.
Chat GPT does not reason.
It was no reason at all. I feel like I'm going insane.
The AIs that we have today, and I'm a huge AI fan. I use it every day at work. And as a software engineer, they don't reason. They really don't. And when you look at the kinds of mistakes they make, you know they aren't reasoning about what they're doing. They're simply trying to generate the next character or the next word based on what they already have in memory. Our memory works a little bit like ours, but don't trust any AI when it comes to reasoning, because they don't.
Garbage
They're
in, garbage
just
out.
it's worse than that, because they'll hallucinate stuff. I have asked questions about my code base, and it has hallucinated things that are not in my code base. And the only way it can do that is because it's going out. It's not just looking at my code base, but it's going out and looking at other things and saying, "Hey, this is another things like this, so this must be here too." And that's not what's happening. So it's not reasoning at all. None of them do. They're simply they're simply generating content, and that's all they can do. They're not making actual reasoning to that. They can simulate it doing that quite well, because they can pull from a larger data set than we can faster than we can. And so it looks like they are, but that's not what's happening. So you could ask ChatGPT general questions and think of it as a giant Google. And that's also not exactly true, because ChatGPT only knows what it was trained on when it was released. So if it's been 3 months since the latest release of ChatGPT, its data is 3 months old. And that comes into a real problem with software engineering, because our stuff is constantly being updated. And so we have to do some tricks to get the latest documentation and the latest code, et cetera, into our AIs that we're
So
using. So, yeah.
my
No.
apologies. I muted Melissa because there were breathing noises that were overriding the microphone thing.
Oh,
We've got Theus on hold. So Melissa,
Yep.
thanks for calling. As soon as the video gets up and you watch it, if you got questions, call back in, and maybe we'll have time to talk about them then.
And you're welcome to move up here to North Shore of Massachusetts, where, as liberal as it gets, my local library is having a Pride Bingo Month, which I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm going to check it out. And thanks very much. I appreciate you a great deal.
Sure. Thanks, Melissa. All right. Let me go ahead and
okay.
we got 3 theists on hold, and theists have priority. So the atheist on hold, Caleb, we're going to have to hold off on you. I hope you get through sometime, but we got theists. Yes, we do.
Right. Okay. Alfred in Texas, who's a theist, says Q17 3 through 4. Is that Q is in the letter, or what? What are you talking about when you say Q? I guess that's our first question. Just clarify what I've got here in the screener's notes.
Sure. If I may, can I ask a question real quick before y'all get to it?
Sure.
'Cause
No.
politics came up.
Oh,
No.
Okay. Q refers to the versification that's used to refer to the Q source. So that would be
Okay.
Luke 17, 3 to 4. I know you guys know the Bible, so.
Yeah, you should have just said Luke 17, because I don't accept that there necessarily was a Q, and I don't care what the reference is. But what would you like to say about Luke 17?
Well, no, I don't think there necessarily was a Q either. I'm just saying that it's a versification system used so that you can reconstruct what
that's
Q would have
fine.
looked like.
What do you have to say about Luke?
Yes, what's the point?
It's about forgiveness. And I know I just wanted to make a point about how I know Gnostic Informant called in to your channel a few weeks ago, and that was really something to behold. I don't think he handled himself well. I don't think he's a Christian for what it's worth.
So listen up. Listen up. I don't care what you think about Gnostic Informant or that call. This is not the show where you call in to give your commentary on other calls, or whether or not you think someone was a Christian or not, or anything like that. You're a theist calling in. Are you calling in to defend theism or not?
In a way, yes.
Well, in a way, get to it.
Okay. All right. So I know it's been said on this program, like, I know Matt has said something along the lines of, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay,
I just
Alfred,
always
I'm going to correct you and stop you right off the bat. There's literally nothing that I've ever said that is relevant to your defense of theism right now.
it is relevant. I
So
can show you.
it is not relevant. What I've said
would
is
you know?
completely. Just listen? Nothing I've ever said is relevant to whether or not you have a way to justify theism. Period. There is no syllogism or evidence-based thing that you're going to present that starts with something I said. So do what you're going to do.
Okay. So you've said that I just always assumed religion would become less and less relevant in a secular society, and it's not becoming less relevant. And I
So
think
Alfred, when
Yeah.
I tell you that nothing that I've said is going to be relevant to you defending theism, why would you then go back to say that I've said I always assumed religion would become less and less relevant? Whether or not I've assumed religion would become less and less relevant, and whether it is becoming less and less relevant, are completely irrelevant to whether or not Alfred has a defense of theism. This will be your last chance to begin to defend theism where I will pay any attention, and then I'll be moving on. So are you going to do that or not?
I'll do that. Sure.
Cool. Thank you.
So I'll tell you one of the reasons it's not happening. That's my defense.
I'm sorry,
And-
Alfred. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
so
Alfred.
Alfred,
I'm not sorry at
you're-
all. Goodbye. I mean, not for forever, just for me, because I didn't ask you why it's not declining or anything else. I asked you to give a defense for theism, the proposition that there is a God being true. I don't give a shit what you think about the popularity of religion or why it isn't in decline. I've tried to be as clear and as respectful as I can and maintain my zen. I am now done, but I'm happy to listen and chime back in if you ever get around to the subject. And I will let Jim to decide whether or not there's any viable conversation to be had with you prior to that.
Yeah, because the only thing I hear you attempting to do is to make some sort of argument from popularity that God exists because he's popular. And that's a non-starter. I don't care how popular an idea is, does not necessarily make it true. So do you have
Sure.
anything
I
other
agree.
than an ad populum argument for God?
Well, it's more of a by their fruits kind of argument. Because I know of a guy, he said, when I was young, I saw
So
blokes
can
throwing rocks.
atheists do good things?
Of course.
Okay, so why do I care about the from their fruits argument at all? Because that doesn't buy you anything, right? If atheists can do good things as well as Christians, then Christians doing good things does not have to be inspired by God, right?
I guess so.
Yeah. So what's your next
Well,
best argument? You got one more shot, and then we're going to move on to someone who hopefully has better arguments and thought it through.
no, I have thought it through. It's just I say 5 words and then there's an immediate pounce. I mean, I need some space to breathe.
Okay.
Well,
Breathe somewhere else.
That's because we know where you're going because you're not doing anything anywhere
You
remotely
don't. How
unique.
could you?
Because I've done
There's
this
only
for
so
20
many arguments
years.
for God. Pardon?
I've done this for 20 years, but what I do know is that we keep asking you a question, and instead of doing the thing that you said you would do, you keep talking about, a guy, or Matt said this, or whatever else, none of which is in any way a possible path to a defense of theism. I no longer believe that you're sincere or credible or competent or
You're
that
not a
the
mind reader,
conversation
though.
is valuable. You complain that you only got a few words out, but that's because none of the words that you got out have anything to do with what you're supposed to be doing here.
Yep. And
Okay,
you'll
you
notice
can't
that
read
I've
my
named
mind.
every argument that you've
I
had
don't
because
need to
there's
read your
nothing.
mind. I don't need to read
Yeah,
your
what do you
mind.
think?
I know what I'm doing. You don't.
You know where my point is going.
Yeah, because as soon as you say by the fruits of their work or whatever the phrase was, we know exactly where you're going. You're saying that Christians do good things, which is why I asked you the question: can atheists do good things? Yes, that shoots your entire line of argument down. Right, your very first statement is wrong. How are you going to build an argument from a wrong statement?
Well, I'd like to let you know. It's just again, I say a few words, and it's like, wait, what about this?
So
Wait,
this
what about
guy is not serious. This guy is just going to keep whining about interruption
Yeah.
and not answer the question that Jim has asked and not answer the question that I have asked. This is a troll caller at best and undeserving of any of our audience's time.
Yeah. Thanks, Alfred. I would suggest that you go look up all of the arguments for God. There's only about 10, and see what the atheist response is, and then maybe try to come up with a response to the atheist response to those 10.
Yeah, I'm just
So
gonna
anyway,
say the way
thanks.
you guys
Having
treat
a great
people you
evening.
disagree with
Talk
is
to you later.
destructive.
Bye.
Yeah. Thanks, Weiner.
Okay. We'll go with.
The way we treat people is terrible. You mean when we ask them, can you do this? And they say yes. And then we say, go ahead. And they continue to refuse to do it over and over again. And then just whine about how they only got a couple words out. I'm sorry. Maybe next time, write down what your argument is so that you have it available to present. But it was not even clear that this person called in to present any sort of defense. They just wanted to talk. And they wanted to talk about how somebody else who called in wasn't a real Christian or anything else. Congratulations. You're not breaking my Zen. You just don't get to talk here anymore today. Do better next time. Write down what you're thinking, and then you won't meander. Because unlike a debate, this is a show. And when you are not providing conversation that is edifying, that is anything that we can engage on, that would be beneficial to the audience, you get to go away.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting to talk about the Luke quote, but especially with what's going on and totalitarianism and all that kind of good stuff. But unfortunately, yeah. All right, let's go. Moving on. Let's do Randall in California, who says, I think regardless of anyone's belief, the nature of God transcends human logic. So you obviously believe in God. So can you start with why you think God exists? And then we can talk about whether or not he can transcend logic.
Sure. Is it okay if I just make a statement and let you guys pick off after that? Because I mean, I feel
Go
like
ahead.
just making
That's
a
what
statement.
you're here to do. Go
My
ahead.
answer, my answer to that would be that I'm alive, because rather than nothing, there's something. But life seems to have a purpose. That's my answer.
Okay, so let's start with something from nothing. So first of all, you know that science, our current understanding of science is that there is no such thing as nothing, right?
There's no such thing as nothing.
According to our current modern understanding of physics.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
It means it's been demonstrated there is no such thing as nothing.
You mean they pointed at nothing and then they said that there's nothing?
No, they actually tried to prove that nothing could exist and they failed to do so.
Okay, yeah, because nothing can't be even acknowledged. Like, you can acknowledge it, but it's like indirect.
So how do you then how do you prove that it exists?
I agree that there's such thing as you're saying that they prove that there is no such thing as nothing?
No.
Nothing cannot exist. That is correct.
Well, I wouldn't be so concerned about that because there's obviously other stuff. So I'm just going to go with,
Randall.
there being something.
Well, so you gave three things. I've only attacked one so far, and you've just admitted that you don't have a defense for it. And I haven't even gotten to the other attack on nothing, so on the something from nothing argument. And so the other one is that life seems to have a purpose. How do you determine whether or not something has a purpose, as
Well, if it
opposed
helps
to
you
just
do
a
something
thing that
else.
it does?
Okay, going off of the purpose one, if one thing allows you to do something else, like a car helping you get somewhere within a different amount of time, I think you can, once that bridge is made, you can say that the car's purpose in that moment was to get you somewhere faster.
So the purpose comes from a brain, right? A car, because what's the purpose of a car?
So for it to take you places. For it to take you places
Okay.
in a safe manner.
Do people who
in a
are
comfortable
racing
manner.
cars around a track going someplace?
It depends on what you're using the car for. The purpose of a
Right.
car,
So the
I mean,
purpose
they're getting
changes
around the track.
depending on a mind, right?
Yep.
But what we're talking about are biochemical processes that happen whether or not a mind is there to observe it, right?
Say that one more time.
Biochemical processes happen whether or not there is a mind to observe it and to apply a purpose to it, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so where does the purpose come in?
Well, I think purpose is something that we labeled. Do you think that there's
I
a purpose
agree.
even
It,
without there being a
so,
purpose?
so how does life have a purpose? If it's something we label, that a mind, it takes a mind to label, how does life have a purpose?
Well, then why is there a life then?
Randall, you're the
There
one.
has to be- there has to
You're the
be
one
some glue.
positing. You're the one positing that life, because it seems to have a purpose, therefore justifies God. I have no idea
Totally.
how you can
That's what
tell
I'm
that
saying.
you're.
I want to
I
understand
don't know.
how
I don't.
you guys
I don't
do
know
that.
why. I don't know why you're interrupting me when I've been sitting here quiet and patient, and I got halfway through one sentence. But that's not going to go well for you, I guarantee. So what I don't understand
Go ahead,
is.
go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you letting me talk on my show. What I don't understand is if you perceive that something has a purpose, how can you demonstrate that, in fact, that was the intended purpose? And how can you demonstrate that that purpose was intended by a God?
Okay. One of those, I would say, you would only be able to say that after the matter because of the cause and effect. Whether that comes from a God, I mean, the thought alone has to come from the manifestation of those thoughts from other, outside energies or whatever you want to call it. But
Right.
there
Which
has
is
to
why
be
we're asking you to
something
prove that your God exists. If you can prove your God exists, then you can say that life has a purpose because God gave it a purpose. But you can't do that until you first prove God exists.
yes. What I think in terms of my God existing, I think it exists. I think God is everything. I don't think it's an individual.
God is a piece of poop in my toilet.
Sure. I mean, it exists.
Okay, Randall, I can tell you right now, I have zero interest in this conversation because these sort of
Doesn't mean you should worship the poop, though.
because these sort of esoteric gods are absolutely useful. They're untestable. They're unfalsifiable. They want nothing. You can interact with them in no way. And you are just basically using God as a placeholder to say, I don't know or understand a bunch of stuff, so I'm just going to call it God. I only care about gods that people think are actually real, that they are going to then vote on behalf of and pray to and use what that God thinks or wants to impact other people. If you think that a piece of poop is God and you want to worship it, I don't care. This is not the place to waste anybody's time on bong rip theology.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. I didn't say
So-
that I believed God was a turd. I said the turd is part of life, and God is bigger than life.
I don't care, Randall.
Right,
I don't
and
care,
we
Randall. You
don't-
have
we
a
don't care,
useless
'cause-
God, and I'm not wasting time on it.
Yeah, you didn't refute anything
Another
Matt just
factor is
said.
you gotta
And
wanna
we've
believe.
kicked
That's
two out
the
of the
only way
three
things
things
can
you
work.
said prove God. What was the first thing you mentioned? I forgot what it was. So we've been over nothing can't physically exist. Purpose comes from mind, so you have to prove God before you can prove there's a purpose. Otherwise, it's just stuff doing stuff. So what was the first thing you said?
My initial statement.
Mm-hmm.
Like I believe. You mean what I inquired today with the call, or what we were just talking about?
Oh my God!
You know what? I'm satisfied with kicking 2 out of 3 of your arguments to the curb. So you don't really have anything worth. You have not proven your God exists. I would highly recommend you go back to the drawing board. Maybe go study some actual arguments for God, for whatever God you believe in. And
the only way I could prove that my God exists is that I'm alive. That's the only thing I can prove, is that I'm alive. I have no idea.
You're alive
Randall,
because of biochemical processes.
Randall, that is one of the
Your God
stupidest statements I've ever heard. The only thing that your
Okay.
being alive proves is that you're alive. It doesn't prove anything at all about a God. There is nothing that you've added to you are alive that adds any context to what a God is, what it means, how it contributes to your life. Nothing. You have not
Okay, a
only a
God can
useless,
create,
I'm
right?
still talking. You have not only a useless proposition, but an absolutely stupid argument. Now, you might be an incredibly smart person. And if so, you should be embarrassed that your stupid argument of the only way I can prove God is that I'm alive is a waste of everybody's time, including yours.
Right. Pretty much.
I don't think that
So,
I
we
don't care
could
what you
sum up
think.
that conversation.
I don't care what you think.
well,
It is a
that does
very,
sum up the
very big
conversation.
conversation.
You're alive because your parents had sex. They're alive because their parents had sex.
Right.
That's basically all that you can prove by the statement, I am alive. And
Sure,
that your
sure, sure.
biochemical processes are still going. It doesn't
Wait,
say anything
wait,
about God.
Yes, exactly.
did
That's what
Randall just
that's what I'm
admit
trying to
that the
say.
only thing he can prove by the fact that he's alive is that he's alive? I thought you said that you being alive proves you're God. Randall, go
No,
away.
I don't believe I'm God.
Go away, Randall.
No, we didn't say that,
Like,
Randall. Go back and listen to the conversation and realize that everything that you said and we've pushed back on you, have agreed with, and so that you have done nothing to prove that your God exists. Thank you so much for calling. Go do study
thank
some
you guys.
good philosophy and theology, and try to come back with something a little bit better than God exists because I'm alive. And oh yeah, well, no, it doesn't, because that's not very good. We'll
Are
talk
there
to you
no
later, Randall.
actual
Have a good night.
theists? Are there no actual theists left to say, hey, here's the even reasons we've already heard that maybe they haven't heard rebuttals to? If you're calling in to say that God is everywhere or everything, don't call me. Call somebody else. Go to one of those other channels and book a debate on one of those Jerry Springer-esque debate things where people can sit around with no knowledge, no understanding, no respect for the process. When you call in and say you think God transcends human logic, which was the first thing that you asked about, Jim, that he didn't get back to. First of all, there's no such thing as human logic. There's just logic. The fact that humans are us and that we're the ones discussing it is irrelevant. But if in fact you think that there's a God that transcends our comprehension, then you're admitting that either you have a way that to perceive this that is beyond human comprehension, which, come on, show off, show us your super skills, or that you are claiming to have comprehended the incomprehensible, or to believe the unbelievable, that you have tested the untestable, falsified the unfalsifiable. You have wasted your time sitting around engaged in weak sophistry of, ooh, what if God's everywhere? And what if he's just beyond our comprehension? Cool. When he becomes an identifiable, testable part of our comprehension, call me back. Until then, I'm not interested in things that are beyond humanity's comprehension. And I also like to know how these people understand what's beyond humanity's comprehension just because it's beyond theirs. Because there's plenty of things that I don't understand, but other people do. If there's something that nobody
Well, it also
understands, why the fuck are you calling in to defend it?
It has to be something that we can't ever understand, right? Because what we understand now is more than what we understood 100 years ago.
Yep.
So you also have to prove that we can't ever understand it. So, yeah, those arguments are anyway. So we got another theist. Yeah. This is Alex from Norway who says, I think I have a way to make God factually correct and also show everyone is right. Okay, so
I'm
factually
so
correct. You've got an argument for God. Yay! Go ahead, Alex. Give us your argument for God.
And Matt, thank you so much for having me on. Thank you, Arden, as well. I don't want to be right and I want to be wrong, and I'll just go right to it.
Mhm.
What if I can combine, science and religion and everything? Then we're just missing a little piece. We're just fucked up somewhere.
Can you, or is
So
this
you're
a what
saying
if?
that it's
Because
okay.
I don't give a fuck about what if.
Yeah, I know. I'll just ask, if you replace the word God with nothing and put
go
that
away.
in the Bible.
Go away.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I have
I'm
no
Go
sorry.
idea
away.
what you're talking about, and
Go
yeah,
away.
morally losing it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're not smoking bongs. We're not drinking wine. I don't know where this conversation is going. So can you
Okay.
take us someplace really
I'm
quick?
sorry,
Did you
or we
not-
gotta drop
did
thank
it?
you-
for
I'm
engaging.
just Alex. Did you not hear me
No?
when I said that I had zero interest in anyone claiming that God is everything or nothing or beyond comprehension or some did you not hear any of that?
Yes, I did, and that's why.
Then why were you on hold for 36 minutes to say, what if we replace the word God with nothing?
Because I was scared as shit, because I'm an atheist anyway. So
You're an atheist. It says here you're a theist. So you
Why?
lied to my call screener to get through?
Yeah, he's dropped.
Go
As
fuck
soon as he
yourself.
admitted he lied, I dropped him as soon as he said
I don't
he
need
lied. I'm sorry.
liars. I don't need fake atheists. You know why you're scared? Because you did something stupid and you fucked up a show, and you probably are a fan of the show and thought you were going to do something nice, but instead you lied, and then you came in with absolute waste of time bullshit. There are 6 phone lines that we use for this show, and we prioritize theists. You stole one of those lines. And if I still had your number, I would ban you for stealing one of those lines. The audience here is looking for a theist to actually defend their position. The audience here is looking to see if there's any hope of a good conversation. You were disrespectful to us, to the call screener, to the audience, and now you should owe me money. So I think you should go in and make a super chat right now to help pay for the phone line that you stole.
Yeah. Amen. All right. We ready for the
We're
next
doing
one?
great.
Oh yeah. You haven't lost your zen yet, but then again, we haven't had a good conversation either. So
I
hopefully,
won't. What I do is I've drawn kind of barriers where the things that would lead me, I genuinely care about this stuff. And I would have kept some of those callers on for a long time to try to teach them exactly what was ridiculous about their position and why you can't just run around going, yeah, but what if God is this? Oh, maybe God's that, whatever. The old me would have spent a lot of time doing that and then wound up frustrated, yelling, hanging up. And instead, it's just like, I get it now. Some of you guys are just trolling. Some of you just want to see me get riled up. I want to have genuine conversations. There are real Muslims out there. There are real Christians out there. There are real Jews out there. There are real Scientologists out there. There are real Mormons out there, real Jehovah's Witnesses out there, any other religion. And there are people out there who believe, and they should, many of them, have a burden for my soul and Jim's soul, and should want to come in and show us and explain to us why we should be convinced. And also, if you're someone, like a Christian, you have an obligation to provide the reason for the faith that's within you. We're giving you a platform. There are thousands of people watching this show live and tens or hundreds of thousands watching over the coming months and years. We're giving you an opportunity to enlighten people as to why you're not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, because it's the power of God unto salvation. Why you have good reason for this. Why we've made a mistake. But you don't. Instead, it's, let me get some bong rip theology, or look at the trees, or the Bible. It's, let's do better. I want to let's see. Let's do better.
yeah, let's try. So I don't think it's going to get much better, but we'll give it a shot here. Daniel in New Hampshire says, is that me? Was that coming through on you too? Daniel, I dropped you because I thought you were making that noise, and it turns out it wasn't. So if you're listening, I apologize. Please call back in. We'll take you as soon as you get back in. I thought he was making that. I was getting
I did too. I was
noise.
trying to get up there and click drop as well. Daniel, if that wasn't you and you were sincere, and I think Arden talked to him.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what the hell is going on. I'm restarting Call in Studio really quick, or my screener, at least. I don't know what just happened. That's very strange. That caller did seem sincere, and I do hope he calls back.
Yeah. Sincerely, Daniel, my apologies for that, but we're refreshing Call-in Studio. There seemed to have been a massive technical issue. It says no host connection. Oh, there we go. Boom, boom, boom. My apologies also to all of you watching. I get it. Tonight's been a weird show, and we've got a bunch of kind of milquetoast, wishy-washy, quasi-theists without any real defense. Oh, wow, we lost Cliff.
Cliff is in the queue. I just have to screen him. Sorry, everything. I'm trying to get everything back together and make sure it's actually working.
Okay, because it shows up as terminated call in mine.
And it doesn't show up in mine at all, but I just refreshed.
Yeah.
Call Studio. So
right. Well, while Arden's digging in on that, and by the way, big ups to Arden for not only producing but screening calls as well, and to do so after a busy day today and a busy day yesterday, because she produced and was on Chewed Gum as well last night. So everybody in chat, you should do a round of applause for the lovely and talented Arden Hart. Roar.
Yeah.
All right.
So, are we back up and running? I see 3 calls, 1 in the screening room.
I think the one that's screening is Cliff.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just take him. That's Cliff.
Cool.
Okay, cool. Here we go, Cliff.
Hey, Cliff, welcome to the show. I hope you can hear us and we can hear you.
I appreciate it, Matt. And yes, I can hear you. And
cool. I don't remember the screening notes, so you are free. What you are now unrestrained as a caller calling in. Move to the front of the queue. I don't remember exactly what you're calling. So what's going on?
That's okay. That's cool, man. I appreciate it. Well, anyway, you said a little bit earlier that we should always be ready to give an answer. The hope that lies within us. So, if you allow me to quote John 3:16, I will. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. Cool. So, yeah, I'd like to talk to you for a little bit if we can.
We've heard that before. Why do I care?
Why do you care?
Yeah, so the book says
if God is not real, okay, if there is no God and He did not create us, and we're just going to live here and we're going to die.
Yep.
When you die or I die, we will remember there's nothing. There's nothing about it. So what's the big deal?
That's correct.
Yeah.
But if there is a God, and you die without Him as your Lord and Savior, then there is going to be consequences.
Oh, so this is a version of Pascal's wager. How do we tell?
This is Pascal's wager.
Yeah. So Cliff, I would agree with you. Now, first of all, I don't know for sure that your any of your logic follows. If in fact there isn't a God and I die, I have no idea if there's an afterlife with or without a God. I don't have any reason to think there is, but I don't have any way to assess it. But you are claiming that if there is a God, there'll be consequences. How do you tell which God is the right God and which consequences you should be seeking to avoid? Should I go with the Christian God? Should I go with the Muslim version of God? Should I go with the Hindu God? If that's the case, I need a way to tell which of these gods, A, is real, and B, do I want to spend an eternity with that being? So, for example, the God of the Bible, I don't want anything to do with, even if he's real, but if he's real, I'll acknowledge it. So how do we tell?
Okay. For me, how I can tell is in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Were you there?
Simple.
Were
you there?
That's claimed. You got evidence for that?
And that is you are 100%. That is a claim. Okay.
So we're asking. Maybe you missed this, Cliff. We're asking, how can we tell which God is real? And your response is, for you, it's in the beginning God created. So it seems to me that you're just saying you just believe the Bible, but we're saying, how can we tell if something's true?
Well, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth. Jesus is truth.
Okay, Cliff.
But how do you
Cliff,
You're
tell
quoting the
something true?
Bible again. We don't care about the Bible
Cliff,
until you prove.
Cliff.
Go ahead.
Are you aware?
Go ahead.
Cliff, are you aware that I'm a former Christian who was studying to be a pastor? Not only have I read the Bible multiple times, I've studied it in depth and taught it. Telling me what's in the Bible is never going to convince me of anything until you demonstrate how we can know that the Bible is accurate and a path to the truth.
No, I do understand that you've went to school and you've done all that. I do not believe you were truly saved, and that's a different argument.
Cliff,
Cliff, let me recap your.
Wait.
No, I'll talk on that. I'm good.
Cliff, listen. Whether or not I was truly saved is fucking irrelevant. I've already acknowledged that I don't think I was truly saved, and I don't think you're truly saved. I don't think anybody's truly saved because I don't have any reason to believe there's anything to be saved from, to, or anyone to be saved by. I'm asking you, how do we know the claim is true? You've come back with, well, the Bible says this, the Bible says this, and we're both saying we don't care what the Bible says until you demonstrate that it is a path to truth, or that you give some other reason to think this is true. Can you do that? Because spewing the Bible at me is not going to do anything.
No, I can't give you anything other than creation.
Then we don't need to talk, Cliff.
Yeah.
If you don't have a way to demonstrate your claims are true, then you might as well be saying God is a chewed piece of bubble gum on the bottom of a desk in a schoolroom. You have no way of proving it. You have no way to convince us. I have no reason to think it's true. And so we would just be wasting time. I don't understand how you can believe something and not have a way to demonstrate that it's true.
Well, the only way I can demonstrate that it's true for me and for my family.
That's not the way truth works. Truth isn't true for you. Something isn't just true for you. If there's a God, it's true. If there's a God, is it true for everybody that there's a God?
Yes.
Then you should never have said the words. Then you should never have said the words, it's true for you. It's either true that there's a God or it's not true. If you don't have a way to demonstrate it, then you're admitting that you believe something without good reason.
No, we'll try and give you a reason.
I've been asking.
Which is the only reasons you've given us are from the Bible. What extra biblical reasons can you give us that don't start with the Bible?
Well, then let's talk about biblical. I'm talking about being able to pray and ask God for things, and they happen. And I understand what you're going to say.
So
when you say it happens, does that mean it's true? No, it doesn't.
Well, so there's a problem with what you just said. Are you right? Because are you familiar with I forget the Templeton Foundation, a Christian organization, did a study on the efficacy of prayer and found it to be not any better than no prayer at all.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I've actually heard that, seen that.
So there goes your prayer argument.
Go ahead. No, it doesn't. No,
there goes your prayer argument. Prayer doesn't work.
Hold on. No, it doesn't. Because God is not going to answer my prayer just so I can prove something to you. Now, He did.
No.
One time in the Old
Testament. I'm sorry. The Templeton Foundation study has nothing to do with whether or not God wants you to prove anything to me or anyone else. The Templeton Foundation study was about intercessory prayer, and what Jim is asking you. Well, I'll let Jim ask.
Yeah. So what I'm asking is, if intercessory prayer is not effective, prayer is not effective, right?
There's a couple of factors to that intercessory prayer, but go ahead.
So, like what?
Well, first of all, number one, you must truly be saved. Second of all,
it
can't be.
What does truly be saved mean to you? So how does a Christian prove to you that they have been truly saved?
How can they prove to me that they can truly be saved? Well, the Bible says, keep my
Objectively,
commandments.
objectively,
Number
not
one,
subjectively.
keep
No,
my
no, no. Hang
commandments.
on.
And you're
Hang on. No, no, no.
hold on.
We can solve
Go
this.
ahead.
We can solve this really quickly. Thank you for permission to go ahead. Let me ask you a couple of quick questions. You ready?
Yes. Yes, sir.
Does the Bible say, whatever two more of you ask in my name, I will grant?
Yes, it does.
So no two true believers have ever asked for an end to world hunger or peace.
Again, for you not to consume it upon your lusts. But go ahead.
No.
Hold on.
I just
let me try this
debunked your
one.
entire
Are you
thing.
a true believer? Are you and your family true believers?
100%. I have one that I'm
How do
not
you
sure
know?
of.
Okay.
But go ahead.
Doesn't the Bible?
Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go
This was
and
my
grab
second
at least one other family member and pray for world hunger to end right now. You think it'll happen?
No.
So the Bible verse isn't true.
No, it is true. What you're saying, what you're
It
asking
can't
me
be
to
true.
do
You
is
just said
something.
that if you and one other of your family members, you just said, one, you and your family members are all true believers. Two, that
100%
Bible
so.
verse is true, and that three, if you and
It
one other
is.
member of your family got together to pray to end world hunger, that would not happen. I don't understand your logic here.
I also still have the second point, which completely rebuts this, which is, Cliff, does
Go
the
ahead.
Bible say that only God knows who is or isn't saved?
It says, by their fruits ye shall know
No,
them.
no. Does the Bible say that only God knows whose name is written in the Lamb's Book of Life, and so only God knows who is saved?
I'm not sure if it actually says that, but I know it does say something to that. He does know who is his own. Yes, he knows his own.
Does the Bible suggest
but
that
only
Cliff,
him? No.
does the Bible suggest that Cliff knows anything about who is or isn't saved?
No.
Then how can you claim to know, Cliff, when the Bible doesn't suggest that that's possible, and the Bible says that only God knows?
Because it does say, by their fruits ye shall know them.
No, that's how you're supposed to spot brethren. But do you suggest that if you see someone
Brethren
who's
are saved. Yes.
I'm sorry, I don't know why you're interrupting me when I'm schooling you, but are you suggesting that when you see someone doing good in the name of Jesus, that they are in fact saved? Because I'm pretty sure the lead singer of the Newsboys, you would probably denounce now for his gay sex and drugs. And yet up until recently, up until that exposition, his fruits bore out good for that. And the Bible also suggests that there will be many who say, Lord, Lord, and do good in my name. And I will say, depart from me because you don't know them. The Bible is wrong when it says, by their fruits you shall know them. And it contradicts itself because it suggests that you can't know them. And yet you're running around saying that you know that you're saved and your family's saved. Is it possible, Cliff, that you are wrong about whether you are saved and you are wrong about whether your family is saved?
Well, sure, it's possible. Anything's
Cool.
possible.
Then why are you making claims? Once again, you started with claims that you can't back up and won't back up. And now you're making claims about who is or isn't saved. And you're making excuses for why no two people have ever prayed to convert me. No two true believers have ever prayed to end cancer. No two true believers have ever prayed for anything that would make the world a better place. And yet you're still convinced. So we're back to, what reason do you have to be convinced?
Okay, is it possible, Matt, that you're wrong?
Yes, but I'm not the one claiming who is or isn't a true Christian.
No, but you're claiming there is no God.
No, sir, I'm not. I'm saying that I'm unconvinced that a God exists, and for particular definitions, I may be convinced that that God doesn't exist, but I am not necessarily claiming that there is no God. But even if I am, I can make a demonstration for why I am convinced of that. I don't have to sit here and say, I have no way to demonstrate that, which is what you do. You're the one who's advocating for belief in something that you admit you cannot demonstrate, and you admit you could be wrong about. I'm not the one doing that.
I don't believe I'm saying I can't demonstrate it. For what? For my belief.
You literally, I
Go
asked
back to-
you,
go
if
back to
there, I
creation.
asked you repeatedly, and so did Jim, if you had anything other than the Bible that could actually demonstrate this, and you said, no, you can't. And that's when I said, then we don't really have any reason to discuss anything. I just don't know how you can advocate for believing something when you say that you can't defend it. So if you rewind, you literally said the things that I just said you said.
Yes, other than with the Bible, you're 100% correct. Yep.
Okay. So once again,
So my original reason for calling was I listened to your thing with Doug Murphy, and I was excited about it, to be honest with you, and I'm just kind of amazed as a Christian that you guys can't see that is you, and the rapture is on its way. The rapture of the church is on its way.
What
So
evidence do you have? What evidence do you have?
We'd have.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was like, if we don't believe that there's a God, why would we believe the rapture's on the way? Right? Because you Christians have been saying the rapture's on the way for at least 2,000 years.
At least, yes,
Christ
amen.
himself said it would happen before anybody that was there in the room with him died, and that didn't happen. So now you Christians roll to it as a spiritual or whatever. So why?
Can you think of any other claim that people have been making for 2,000 years and saying it's imminent and it still hasn't happened?
Well, can I go back to his claim of what Jesus said in the upper room and it still didn't happen? That is not what he said.
No. I said, can you think of any other claim I said, can you think of any other claim that people have been making for thousands of years that it is imminent and it still hasn't happened?
How about that the earth evolved?
The earth evolved? That's not a claim. First of all, it's not been a claim that people have been making is imminent for 2,000 years or many thousands of years. And it isn't the claim that the earth evolved. Life is the result of evolution by means of natural selection. This is already a confirmed fact about reality. It's not something that is imminent. I asked if you could think of any claim that people make where they say this is getting ready to happen, and they keep saying it for thousands of years and it never happens.
Oh, nope, not really. Go ahead.
Cool. So why you believe this one?
100% full, because Jesus Christ.
I didn't ask how much you believe it. I said why. It's like you guys saying, listen. I asked you why, and no answer to the question why starts with your confidence level. But go ahead.
Again, you asked me why I believe it.
Yes. And what did you say? What were the words? Stop talking. Stop talking. What were the words that came out of your mouth right after I asked you why you believe?
Because Jesus lives inside of me.
No, sir, you're a liar. Those are not the words that came out of your mouth when I asked you why you believe this.
I apologize. Go ahead. Well, go ahead.
The words that came out of your mouth. The words that came out of your mouth when I asked you why you believe this was 100%. That's the words that came out of your mouth when I asked you why you believe it.
Okay. 100%. I do believe it.
That's not what
just
never mind.
Recap.
I give up, Jim. Yeah. English is not his fucking language, so I'm done. I mean, you continue.
Yeah, so, just to recap, you gave us Pascal's wager, which is a horrible argument for God. You gave us, what was the next one he gave us? The Bible is true because the Bible says it's true. Pardon?
Yeah, no, sorry. Bible.
Yeah, the Bible is true because the Bible says it's true. Circular reasoning. And I believe it because I believe it. Those are your arguments for God, none of which are convincing. I really hope that you come back and try again with something that isn't biblical, because the Bible is a whole bunch of claims, some of which are true, some of which are not, and some of which you're going to claim when we press you on it. It means it's spiritually, and we're going to wonder what that means. So you're going to have to come up with a way to objectively determine what is actually meant by the Bible and what is interpreted and how to interpret it. If you're going to keep using the Bible, you need to be able to do those things, and I don't think you can. So anyway, give us another call back when you've got a better argument than the ones we've already gone over. And you have a good evening. Okay.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Alrighty. Bye. All right.
It might be the only person that's found me because of the conversation I had with Douglas Murray.
Yeah. Well, I think that was the one who wanted to know why Douglas Murphy wanted atheists to go to church, and my answer would be gas Kemp.
It's really strange
right.
because the question that I asked, because he was saying the rapture's coming and he doesn't understand how we can't see it. And it's really easy how we can't see it. There's nothing to see. There is a claim that's been repeated for thousands of years. And it is based on biblical things. So if you aren't convinced that the Bible is true, and by the way, me not being convinced that the Bible is true in its claims or that it is reliable as a path to truth, does not mean I'm asserting that the Bible is false. This is another thing that Cliff's confused about. Oh, you claim there is no God. Well, I can, but I've already explained how and why. What I can say is, not only am I not convinced that Cliff's God is real, by Cliff's own admission, there cannot be evidentiary warrant for either me or Cliff to be convinced that his God is real. Because if you don't have any way to show that the Bible is a path to truth and your argument's based on the Bible, as Jim pointed out multiple times there, it's circular. And so that is logically flawed, which means it is not subject to accepting the conclusion as reasonable.
Okay. We're ready. Daniel is back.
Yay.
Hey.
Hey, what's
so
up?
Thanks for
Daniel,
calling back, Daniel.
Yeah, thank you for calling back, and we apologize for hanging up on you. I don't know if that noise was coming from you or from us, or just a technical glitch, but we apologize for hanging up on you without even a word in. So you wanted to talk about everything is a miracle? That's proof of God.
Actually, yes. If I could start by...
Yeah. So that sound earlier was, in fact, Daniel. And I now have Daniel's phone number. So, cool. I'll be calling you in a little bit, Daniel. Have fun. I actually won't be calling him. That was a joke. I'm not doxing anybody. I'm not giving out his number. I'm not calling him. It's just strange.
No, we can hit the block button.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. And good job, Daniel. The winner is you. You managed to convince Arden, who's incredibly busy and trying, that you were sincere. All we wanted was to have a show where people called in and offered an explanation. But you know what? Troll's got a troll. Tell your mom I said hi. She wants you out of the basement soon. All right.
Yeah. Get rid of some of those pizza boxes too while you're at it.
Definitely.
So we only have an atheist and agnostic next up. So if you're a Christian caller, you can call in right now and go straight to the top of the line and talk to us right now. So, we'll let's take Caleb in Illinois. Caleb, you welcome to the show. You said you want to talk. Is there a place for the church in modern society?
Yeah. First, let me just say hi, Matt and Jim. It's an honor to talk to you. I've been following you guys for a very long time. First-time caller, so please forgive me if I'm a little awkward. But yeah, my question pretty much is something that I've been grappling with for a long time, because as a person who grew up poor and in underserved communities, the church was really kind of the center of both social and kind of practical things. So like, if I know that when I was young and we needed diapers for my brother, but my family couldn't afford them, we could go to the church and receive them completely free of charge. So my question is, like, because of all of that, role that they have within these underserved and poor communities. Like, what role do you think that the church should play in kind of modern society? And hopefully that's a coherent question.
Well, I think so. I don't think there's such a thing as the church, although many evangelicals would like to say that, even though there's at least 1,000 different denominations. But I think that there's once you stop giving to the church, I think it would be a great thing for our taxes to go to building community centers where people can go, to being able to provide for the poor, and do those kinds of social services from our tax dollars rather than have the churches do it. Because, in many cases, that's not free. When we do Atheists Helping the Homeless in Austin, one of the reasons why the homeless come to our bench the most often and look forward to us is because we don't preach at them at all. And so that's usually the token payment you have to make, and nobody wants to be preached at to get anything out of those churches. So that would be my hope, is that we do a better job, even if it's not coming from city and state and local governments. It should be coming from volunteer organizations and people donating money as well. But it doesn't have to come from a church, and it shouldn't, because churches are places where people stop, check their brains at the door, as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
I
And
think there's
I largely, I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. I'm just going to say I think there's a place for community, and that there are secular organizations that are church-like, Sunday Assembly, Oasis, ethical societies, some humanist groups, things like that. I think there's value in the community building. I just think the problem is when you build the community on religious ideology, you are setting yourself up to either be ostracized or be the group that ostracizes somebody else. Because instead of organizing around the things that we share in common, like community and hopefully goodwill, you're centering it around an ideology that hasn't demonstrated it's true or useful or good.
No, I largely agree with both of you. I guess why this has kind of popped up into my head more is that these communities are generally already underserved by government programs and whatnot that could fund, soup kitchens for the hungry, or clothing drives for people who need clothes, etc. And with Trump in office, those programs are even going to get cut even more. And
Yeah, but who's the biggest obstacle?
A lot of times,
who's the biggest obstacle to the government doing more? Who's the biggest obstacle to the government doing more?
Well, I guess right now would probably be Trump. But
it'd be the Republican Party, which is mostly made up of what religion?
Evangelicals and Christianity. Yeah.
Right. There you go. I mean, that's why we don't have good things in this country. That's why we have starving people. That's why we have homeless people, is because Christians don't think we should house them and don't think that we should feed them.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. I mean, the evangelical Republicans are the least Christian people in the country right now.
That's right.
So when you ask the question, does the church have a place in modern society? I think that the idealistic churches, the churches that are actually providing to the poor, that are actually doing the things that Christ told them to do in the book, are needed only because the vast majority of Christians are not charitable. And that's the case, then, So yeah, I think that's the answer. Is it'd be really, really nice if churches couldn't do that, and it'd be nice if churches got out of the way. I mean, the best thing that could possibly happen to this country is the rapture.
I don't know if I'd go that extreme, but
Well, sure.
I can understand the sentiment. Yeah.
I'm in favor. The rapture can't come soon enough to suit me if it's real.
Yeah. Think about where we would be. I mean, you look at Northern Europe, which, I forget which of is it Norway? One of the Northern European countries just said, no, we're tired of having homeless people, so we're going to build them shelters. They're all talking about, do we start shutting down prisons because our social programs are so good that we don't have as many criminals as we used to, and so our prisons are empty? How do we handle that? And they're talking about all kinds of interesting things from a secular point of view, regardless of the fact that those countries may in fact have laws mandating a particular religion. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, no, I don't think church has anything to do in a modern society at all. But anyway, thanks for the call, Caleb.
No, thank you very much for your insights. It was great to talk to you, and hopefully the rest of your callers are much better than the previous few.
We can only
I don't think so. But I mean, thanks, Caleb. One of the things is I saw there was a theist in the queue, and I got all excited because it was supposed to be someone presenting. Oh wait, maybe they're back. Maybe they're back in the queue. They keep getting
they keep
essentially dropped,
bouncing in and out of the
argument.
queue.
Let me make some quick announcements real quick, and we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll either take them or the atheist that's been on hold for a while. So first of all, hi everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks to Jim for being here. We've still got more show to do. This is the line. This is one of the shows in the line. This is my show in line. I do it every Wednesday. It's like therapy for me, but also we're prompting some discussions. I love to get these calling in, but if you're somebody that I don't know wants to make a case for the Trump administration and MAGA and how they have continually posted the least competent people to positions of power, and why you're okay with that, and why you're okay with them actually weaponizing the justice system, calling for the arrest of a sitting governor who's not even been accused of any crime, and all those other things. I think I might entertain that a little bit. But if you have other things, for example, tomorrow is the Transatlantic Call-In Show, starting at 2 p.m. Transatlantic Call-In Show starts at 2 p.m. Central. I don't know who's going to be on tomorrow right now, and Arden's probably busy. But if you call in, if you've ever been accused of being a transphobe, or if you have questions about trans rights, or you have concerns, or you're one of those, there's only two genders and we know it, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. If that's the way you're thinking, there's an opportunity for you to call in and not only just talk to a couple of trans people they've been down this road many times. They can let you know the better way to use language, the better way to talk about stuff, how to interact with family members, what you should potentially do as an ally, how to demonstrate maybe that you're not a transphobe, or if you're proud that you're a transphobe and just really want to go, give those trans folks a piece of your mind. That's less appealing, but they're willing to do that because when we expose people like you, we expose the hateful people as bigots, all of us benefit. And so the Transatlantic Call-In Show is on Thursdays at 2. There may be, as a matter of fact, I think there is a Cus I Wanna this weekend, but we'll see about details of that. But the Sunday show is at 2 p.m. Central right here, and it's all about religion. So if you were afraid to call in today, or you didn't get a chance to call in today, or you're watching this after it was live and I wish I would have been there, Wednesday night to call in, because I totally have a good argument for the existence of God, or I totally know what Matt and Jim have missed. I know what understanding or what thing they have failed to understand. And I would very much like to explain them, how I know that Ganesh is real or whatever it is. Sunday show at 2, and then the Sunday show after dark at 7. Then on Monday is Skeptalk, where we focus on more science education and debunking of pseudoscience. Have some great scientists involved there. It's really good stuff. And then Tuesday will be another episode of Chewed Gum, focusing on how religions impact women's issues and women's issues in general from a skeptical, secular, humanist perspective. So that's all of our shows. Also, get your super chats in now, because whenever we run out of callers, Jim and I will be reading. I love saying that. We'll be reading all the super chats over $10 and thanking all of you. And you can get your questions in. You can get your questions in for me. You can get them in for Jim, whatever you want. And we'll do our best. There's 3 web callers, which probably means 3 prank callers. So I guess we can just go ahead and go with Razor.
All right. Razor in California. Imposter syndrome. And you feel like you're missing something. Go ahead.
I know
Welcome to the
you're saying. I know you're saying about no talking when someone's driving. I thought you would get another Thea's caller. I thought you were getting another Thea's caller. So I was like, well, I have time to get to my next stop. So if you're able to go to the next one and come back to me, is that possible?
Okay, there is no next one.
We'll return you to the queue, and Jim and I will talk amongst ourselves while you find a place to pull over. So don't call us while you're driving. It's not safe. It's not something we want to support. We would like for you all to get to your destination safe, and for everybody driving around you. And so distracted driving is a problem. And I know some of you are like, but I'm on a hands-free set. Yeah, but this isn't a casual conversation with your mom where you're going to zone out on what she's telling you as you start to develop highway hypnosis, and then you can get them to repeat. This is a format where you're expected to think and present ideas and be engaged in a two-way conversation. So I guess we'll wait for Razor, because it doesn't look like there's any other call that's made. There's one that keeps appearing and disappearing.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know, it lists Kurdistan, it lists Iraq.
Yeah.
Have we given up on that one?
Yeah, the caller who you were talking about, their audio wasn't coming through, so I couldn't. I took them like 3 separate occasions and gave them plenty of time to explain them how the web caller works to make sure I could hear them, and they just had no audio. So
Okay. Well, thank you for trying.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if Razor has managed to pull over.
Okay. Razor, are you safe to talk?
I should be, yes. I am literally just pulling into the parking lot, so I'm parking now. I apologize.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. Tell us what's up.
Okay, so I've been an atheist for a number of years now, ever since I moved out of my grandmother's place. And there's a lot of people who I've heard call into the line or into the atheist experience and stuff who are deconstructing. And my thought process for them has always been, this seems like they're thinking way too much into it. Like, what's going on here? And it just feels weird to me, because when I did deconstruct, it started out with like Dark Matter 2525's animations. I thought they were funny, and then I found that on Atheist Experience and listened to the information, and it just kind of clicked immediately. But then I was raised from womb to now in my Southern Baptist grandmother's arms. So it just it feels like I almost did the journey wrong, that I had no struggle in just dropping it. And
so Razor,
to know what your thoughts on that were.
People believe for different reasons, and people believe to different levels of confidence, and religion is more and less significant. So nobody's deconstruction is the same. I've had like I didn't find my way out until I was 30-ish. And I've had 13-year-old girls come up and be like, what the hell took you so long? I figured this shit out in 5 minutes. And a lot of it has to do with how steeped you are into it, how much indoctrination there is, what the potential consequences are going to be. I mean, you said you deconstructed when you left your grandma's house. I don't see what living in your grandma's house has anything to do with whether or not there's sufficient evidence for God, which sounds like while you were in your grandma's house, you just kind of went along and didn't necessarily, I mean, you believed and went along because that's what everybody was doing. And if you stop believing shortly after you left your grandma's house, it seems like maybe it wasn't that serious for you. And so that might have been why it was easier to let go. My apologies if it was incredibly serious and you just had an aha moment, but it's going to be different for everybody.
For the what had happened was I found my very own church. Like I found my very own church that I then went into. I went on mission trips. I did all these different things. Then when I moved out, I continued to try to go to the church that I chose. But just as I guess I was, maybe it is that since I was no longer under my grandmother's roof, I just kind of fell out of it. I don't know if that means I wasn't fully into it or not. But then, like I said, I started hearing arguments from you and all the different hosts from this and Atheist Experience, and it just everything. Yeah, like the aha moment. Like, why am I doing this? Why am I going here at this anymore? Like, and like I said, I just fully never understood. Like, if I just like didn't do something right, or if I just straight up, or if my brain just worked differently versus how other theists at the time were working. So
yeah, I think in many cases, parents, or in your case, your grandmother, put a bubble around us, right? They try to protect us from the world as much as possible. And so when you grow up in an environment that believes in God, you're going to believe in God. And you may have done all those things thinking that you actually believed because everybody else does. And it creates this self-reinforcing bubble. And then when you get out into the world, you begin to realize that there are things outside the bubble, so to speak, right? I'm using the bubble, the concept of bubble, very metaphorically. And so, and then as we start to expand more, and when, Matt talked about the 13-year-old, well, for the 13-year-olds who are doing that, and anyone that's younger than Matt and I, when we grew up, there was no internet. When we grew up, there were no atheist shows. There were, the only atheists that we saw were always in a negative light. And so it was much harder for us to pierce the bubble than it is for, the latest generation. So I think that's part of what, may have happened to you. And that's fine. Because I describe it, I had I wandered out of being a Catholic. I could almost say I wandered out in flip flops drinking Mai Tais. It wasn't a struggle for me, and it sounds like it wasn't for you. And it doesn't make my wandering out any less than someone who, struggles with it and may still struggle with it today. The struggle, it doesn't matter what the struggle is, that is, something we each have to deal with individually. It doesn't mean there's no such thing as any less than an atheist, right? Because you either believe or you don't.
I can tell. Like, once I was fully out, I could just kind of think to myself without needing to go to my grandma consistently. Just like, hey, I'm having these thoughts about the Bible, and then having her just go, just trust God, and that. I think it was also hearing that line over and over again that angered me, because I wanted answers and I wasn't getting them, so it made me want to not believe anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of started clicking from there.
Yeah. That's that's kind of what happened to me as well. So no, I don't. You're not missing anything. You're not any less or more of an atheist because you struggled or didn't struggle or any of that. The only thing that makes you an atheist is to go, Well, I don't really accept that there is a God or gods that exist. That's it. And once you do that, everything else, I mean, in a lot of cases, people start wondering, well, why do I believe this or why do I believe that? And they find out it's tied to their religion. And that's why a lot of atheists end up being LGBTQIA allies, because they realized that their opposition to that was based entirely on their religion. And once they gave that up, they had no reason, that they could be allies. So those are just people trying to live their lives as best they can, just like everyone else.
Yep.
Yeah, now my hardest battles with my family is just trying to get my grandmother to respect my roommate.
Yeah,
because she does not respect the transition at all of my male roommate.
Well, sometimes you got to set boundaries you don't want to set, even with people you love. But that's a choice you've got to make. I'm not making any advice on it.
Yeah. I said hard boundaries. She seems like she's working. She seems like she's at least listening there. So I don't know. But yeah, I do thank you so much for what you guys are saying in this.
I feel like I missed part of the conversation because you jumped into a topic that, like, so you have a roommate that's transitioning, and it matters to you whether your grandmother accepts them?
It matters that whenever they're speaking to me, because I still do love my grandmother, I do speak with her a lot still.
Sure.
It matters that I hate when she misgenders them. It's a disgusting feeling, and I constantly have to put my foot down whenever I'm around her.
Okay. Does your grandmother interact with your roommate at all, or is this just secondhand frustration?
My roommate is my ex. I'm still best friends with them, so my grandmother has interacted with them pre-transition and post-transition. Yes.
Okay. Well, when your grandmother interacts with them, does she misgender them, in front of them and stuff?
I think the most that she's done is I think she just doesn't use any, like, she does the darling thing, the Southern Baptist Indian darling,
Yes.
How you just it's never like straight to the face, because she was raised to be respectful to the face, basically. But like behind the back it's annoying.
So I don't know if it's worth it to call into the Transatlantic Call-In show and talk about this. One of the things is with older people, if it doesn't seem like you're going to make progress, sometimes you just got to put on frozen and let it go. And there's an entire generation of people, and many of them are part of my generation. I used to say this about the ones that came before me, the boomers, etc. We're going to have to wait for them to die off for some significant changes to take place, because the world, they are not equipped to handle the changes in the world, and the changes in the world of the new things that we recognize and the way we are working towards a better understanding of humanity isn't something that they're likely to accept. There are exceptions. And by all means, love your grandmother, try to make sure that they're doing things right, but you can, in fact, teach an old dog new tricks, but it ain't fucking easy, and sometimes it's not worth it. And so, if your grandmother's problematic and disrespecting your roommate or anyone in front of you, then by all means you can call it out and should call it out. But if this is more about getting them to agree with you, give it up. One of the things that Arden and a lot of my other trans friends are going to say is they don't need a person to actually think they are their gender. They just need to stop being threatened. They need to be left alone. They just need to be respected and shown some dignity. You can think, and it's the same thing for me. Like, for example, ever since we've been together, it's, oh, you're gay, homie, which I think is hilarious. Am I gay? Definitely not. My bi or trans? Who the hell knows? I don't give a shit for labels. I love who I love, and I don't care. So none of it bothers me. But I don't need someone to think that I'm straight or anything else. Oh, you got to cut that
Sorry.
phone ring thing off. I don't need
Sorry,
any of
that
that.
was sorry. Work
I don't need any of that. I just need to live my life and be left alone. That's mostly what most of my trans friends would like. And so if your grandma is working hard to be polite and you're upset because you know that deep down she's got this smug superiority and does not buy into things the way they are, give it up. It's not worth it.
Okay. Yes. I do. Again,
And if I'm
I do
wrong,
thank you so much for what you guys say.
Sure. Thanks, Razor. And if I'm wrong,
Thanks,
call
Razor.
into
Yeah, I gotta
TACIS
go
and they'll
now.
let you know. But
Yeah.
we're going to let you go. Appreciate the call. It's entirely possible, by the way, that I have given bad advice on behalf of how to deal with your elderly, potentially transphobic loved ones.
Mhm.
And I would recommend everybody tune in to Transatlantic Call-In Show tomorrow and maybe throw them a super chat. Ask them, hey, was Matt, out taking a piss in the wind when he said, to give it up, trying to convince grandma? I just know that we have limited time and there are some things that are going to take a lot of effort. I don't know how to fix the world. I definitely don't know how to fix all the bigots. But I know that if you've made your thoughts and desires clear to people and you have made a diligent, honest effort to say, here's what I think and why, here's why I wish you would agree with me, here's why I wish you would not do this thing that you're doing or whatever. If it doesn't end in a reasonable amount of time, you have to make a decision. And that is, do you change the nature of your relationship with that person? And that's what I've done. I don't give a shit if we're blood related or not. If you disrespect my partner, me, we're done. Because I'm a little weird. I don't feel the same need for a blood kin family relationship. I'd rather have the family that I choose, who likes me for me. She likes me for me. Now, because I run with Leonardo or Jesus or whatever, you've got to get comfortable in your own skin, and you've got to realize that while you can try to change the world, and you should try to change the world, you don't have to do it all yourself. And you might not ever be the person to change your grandma's mind. You know what might change your grandma's mind? Me. Like if I come up and talk to your grandma and I'm like, man, let me tell you, these trans people, that's wild, isn't it? And then we have that conversation and she's like, yeah. And I get her on a comfort level and talking about this. And I'm like, well, no, hang on. They're real and they're not claiming to be cis. I mean, what is it you're confused about? What don't you know? Maybe that would work. Or maybe your grandmother would be more susceptible to non-Zen mode Matt, which is, okay, you fucking bigot. Who knows? I don't tend to start there, but if it ends up there, I'm okay with it because there's a lot of different paths to getting people to change their mind. You should start with truth. You should start with dignity. You should start with empathy and call out their lack of it. The world is desperately missing empathy. And we are full of stupid people who think they're a victim because their privilege has been chopped down just a little bit. They had so much privilege, we took a little bit away, and now all of a sudden, po pitiful me. And that's where we're at.
Pretty much.
So
Close
the results of the
relationships are
poll,
always the hardest.
the results of the poll are in. The poll was, do you think God exists? There were 1.5 thousand votes, so huge. Thank you, everybody, for voting. I don't normally read the polls, but it's up there. 81% of the people watching said, nope, I don't think God exists. 12% shrugged. 3% said yes, and I'll call to explain. What's 3% of 1,500? Is that like
300-ish?
No.
Or no,
30.
3 times 1,000. Take
30,
1,000, move it over
35.
twice. Yeah.
Anyway, I don't think we had that many theists calling in to actually explain, which means some of those people who said, yes, I'll call in to explain, I don't want to say they're dishonest, but maybe they called when the lines were full. So maybe the jackass or two that lied to get in took the phone line away from somebody who would have actually called to explain God. And if so, we're very sorry, because I guarantee you, Jim and I would have rather talked to you than the individuals who were lying to us. And 2% said, yes, but I'm too scared to call. And that's wild, because I'm super chill. I don't know why anybody would be scared to call.
We don't bite.
I can't bite. The most I could do is bite something here with me. Anyway, we have super chats. And I don't have my super chat page up. So if you want to read the first one while I'm getting that, boom.
All right, we got $10 from Ryan P. Thank you so much. Flags don't have feelings, but Trump does. I hope everyone watching makes sure to peacefully show up to your local No Kings Day protest on Saturday. If you are physically able, I'll be there in Denver. I'm not sure Trump does have feelings, but that's a whole different conversation.
He has an ego
But
that
yeah.
you can bruise, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't think he actually feels. But yeah. And yeah, No King's Day. Remember, he has threatened to arrest people if they're protesting his parade.
Also,
so
I don't know, before I get on to this next one, Arden's done more and studied more protests and how to do it, what not to do. And for the longest time, they were recommending don't take your cell phone. But my thought is, given the new world we live in, where they can manufacture a story and AI generate video and all this, wouldn't it actually be better if everybody there was live streaming everything from every angle? Has that changed at all, Arden? Or am I?
So a lot of people do recommend filming. The big thing that you have to do is turn off location services on your phone and turn off any Face ID or biometric stuff on your phone. That way you have to put in a passcode, because they can't force you to put in a passcode to open your phone. But if they have like a face unlock, they can go through your phone, put it up to your face, and then go through it. So, yeah, you want to be really careful about location services and access to the phone. But recording is actually a good idea.
Wow, the stuff we choose to care about. You don't have to give me the passcode to your phone, but if you actually have it where it just recognizes your face, I can hold it up to you, and whatever happens, happens. I think maybe one of the things, if we ever start moving back towards sanity, one of the things we should consider is some privacy protections that extend that move into the 21st century, so that it's not just, oh, if your door is locked, we can't come in. But if it's open a crack, we can just march right in. That's the thinking on this phone thing, and it just drives me nuts. $10.
Well, so yeah, go ahead.
$10 from Weston Campbell. Mr. Tate, you're gay. Been a little over a month since I've been on here, and most importantly, I haven't told Matt he's gay, homie. Nice that you're here. Barrows, mind passing along the message to Matt? Okay.
Matt, you're gay, homie.
Thanks, man.
Pass it along.
Sweet. By the way,
Canadian
anybody who wants to can submit a $10 super chat and ask me to read it and say whatever. I could say, I'm crazy gay. I'm super gay. Because I'm ready.
Matt can be bribed. So can I. Canadian $10, which now is like $5 US, from Untitled Final V2 this version. Hi, Matt. Hi, Jim.
It gets better.
So,
$10 from Untitled
Canadian.
Final V2 this version. Hello, Mr. Barrows, Mr. Dillahunty.
Hello. Canadian $10 from Untitled Final V2. This version, potato.
And 10 Canadian dollars from Untitled Final V2. This version, Zen Mode Matt deserves more super chats. Amen.
Yeah. $10 from Joshua Everett. Jim and Matt get the prize for shutting down Alfred's nonsense in record time.
I try.
Yeah.
Got another $10 and hugely. We're having fun with this, but genuinely, thank you so much. Untitled Final V2, this version. Did Matt just say edifying? Paul Gia said he was looking for a non-Christian who uses this word. Really?
I've used it. Yeah. If he is.
I'll message Paul here while Jim's doing this next super chat.
Yeah. $10 from Weston Campbell. I saw a video of Peterson versus 20 Kermit the Frogs. Matt did a video on his channel, Sans Deity, about a video that Peterson did with 20 atheists. Will there be a response to the 20 Kermit the Frog video? I will have to look for that because that doesn't sound like a real video. It sounds like somebody put something together for that. But yes, that was an absolutely horrible attempt by Peterson to sound reasonable and sane. So yeah, very strange. I think Matt's still texting.
Autocorrect has repeatedly changed your name to Him Narrows. Like 5 times. Like I use swipe on my phone.
Yeah, I do too. I haven't seen your response to the Peterson. I haven't seen your response to the Peterson versus 20 atheists, but I thought the title to your video pretty much says it all. Last time it only took one.
Yeah,
I don't think you really needed to say anything else but that.
That video got a lot of views, and I'm happy because it's going to make a couple extra bucks now that my channel's monetized, which wasn't true until December. But I also put up another one specifically addressing Jordan Peterson's very weird take on what is belief. And the thing, I'm the most proud of the actual assessment of the claim, but I'm almost as proud that I came up with a new title for him, which we put on the thumbnail, which is the Duke of Deepities, because while I've heard people call him the king of the incels, and I find that funny, I think the Duke of Deepities is a little more accurate. Plus, it gets us in a position where we can explain to more people what that word means and why it's valuable. $10 from Doobly-Doop. I'm digging the no-nonsense Zen method. Answer why you're convinced there is a God, or go away and think about it. Yep, that's the thing. None of those. Only one person got banned tonight for being a liar. All the theists who called in, who just had really bad arguments, they know what they need to do for next time. And if there's somebody who's advocating for some esoteric, nonsensical God is everything, God is nothing, let's change the definition of God, blah, then they know they don't need to call in until they find some God that we should give a shit about. Because if God is everything, God is nothing, there's no reason for us to care. If belief or disbelief in your God has no serious impact on anybody's life, and you have no way to demonstrate it's true, okay, it's a waste of time. But then you look at other callers, and if your only thing is, I'm convinced of the Bible, and Jim and I both say that we're not, then you either need to come with something extra biblical, as Jim was asking for, or you need to come with a way to demonstrate, here's why I consider the Bible reliable, and why I think you should too. And then we can assess those arguments and say, we were wrong. You were right. I'm now convinced the Bible is reliable, and I will have to go through it and assess, what's going on. Or here's why we still don't think that what you're saying about the Bible is true. And hopefully that will change your mind or send you off to find a better. This is really easy. For people who want to have the good conversations, don't pretend to know shit you don't know. Don't claim you can do stuff you can't do. And when we offer our thoughts and corrections, take it in, assess it, think about it, call back. Here we go. Ba-ba-ba.
I don't know what country knock is, but it's 100 from Arsenic 1987. Here's the money I owe you, Matt. I genuinely did not insult your fantastic call screener, Arden. I was afraid, and I get it. I was not trolling. I was ingenuine. Not. I am
Okay.
assuming that this is the person who lied about who claimed they were a theist and are actually an atheist.
Yeah.
You did by wasting Arden's time, and you wasted our time. And you can't claim to be atheist and say you're really an atheist and be genuine about that. So
What's weird
But
is
hey,
either one or
this
the other.
this chatter has been in chat for a long time, and when he called in, he was like, "Oh, you probably recognize me. I'm Arsenic from chat, but I used to be an atheist, but I think I'm a theist now." So I thought he sounded very sincere, and I was like, "Oh, cool, he converted." So I just like, whatever, put him through, not really worrying about it. It's not my, but it was weird to hear him then go on to just be like, "Oh no, I'm actually an atheist." Like, okay, so you weren't serious. Random.
so it's also, I mean, yes, we lit into you a bit, and I think justifiably, especially at some of it's the frustration of just absolutely getting nobody who was going to defend anything real, and then we get another caller that's not defending anything real, and it turns out they were like, but you did the super chat, and I'm appreciative, and if you want to talk sometime, just tell the truth. That's probably the best thing, and if you're confused about something, about like whether or not you're a theist or whether or not you found a way to justify theist, just put in, I don't know. When we ask someone, are you a theist or an atheist? We're asking because we want to prioritize theists and theists who are going to give a defense of something. If you're questioning or uncertain or you're vacillating, you can tell the call screener that and they'll just put it in there. What happens is you won't go to the top of the queue. If you're seriously on the verge of saying, I really think like any moment I could be a theist, I need to figure out, is there something flawed in my argument? You can tell them that. And we can prioritize. I can take whatever call I want. Jim could push the button, take whatever call he wants when he's on here. We're going to try and prioritize theists. But when you do something like that, it makes it feel like you're trying to jump the line. But thanks. $10
Another
Canadian.
$10. Yeah.
Hashtag
Sorry.
Team Arden.
It is yours.
Yeah, no, I can't argue with that. I'm hashtag Team Arden forever, except on rare occasions when TACIS is a really close tie and I want to force her to defend a debate position because I like listening to her do it and it's fun for me. On those occasions, I will sneak in a donation and be like, hashtag Team Lux or hashtag Team Josie. But that's my love language.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, another
another 200. I don't know what country the knock is from our
Norwegian
It's not sarcastic
krona.
or troll.
It's Norwegian krona.
Oh, okay, Norwegian krona. Very good. I generally love that you talk to me call screening. Okay.
Hey, and that's sweet. Thanks so much.
Mhm.
$10 from Infinite Saxon. As a parent who values skepticism and humanism, how do I teach my child to think critically and question things without becoming cynical or distrusting? I want them curious but still open-hearted. Jim, do you have thoughts? Because I think we're both
Encourage
childless.
the curiosity and ask questions. Don't immediately say no or whatever. Just ask questions so that they can start with their curiosity and know how to ask themselves questions. Because that's basically all skepticism is asking questions.
I think,
and so that's all you have to do, I think. But I don't have kids, so take that with a giant grain of salt.
My favorite answer to this, apart from, I agree with Jim, get them to ask questions, try to foster a sense of discovery. When they come to you with questions of, why is this? If you know the answer, don't just give them the answer. Maybe say, why do you think it is? and see if that curiosity encourages them to think about possible explanations. You can discuss those. You can discuss how and why we figure out what should be considered a candidate explanation. You can tell them what you think the answer is and why. But the best one is when they come and ask you a question that you don't fucking know. And as adults, we tend to pretend we know shit when we really don't. Or we kind of know it, but, we learned it in school and we forgot, and, it's like, Mommy, what's the Posse Comitatus Act? And you're like, oh, I've watched The West Wing 5 times, and season 3, episode whatever is Posse Comitatus. And I know they talked about it there, but I don't remember. When they come to you with ones you don't know, say, I don't know. But let's see if we can find out. And then help them figure out how to use Google, how to use scientific journals, how to figure out which sources are likely reliable. Are we trusting this person? Are we trusting that person? Are we trusting this? Why do we trust this? Oh, it's because this is the scientific consensus from the majority of experts in this particular field. Great. That means they're probably correct, but could they be wrong? You bet they could be wrong. How could we tell? Those types of things. Make it fun. And also, music. I shit you not. I have the box set DVD of Schoolhouse Rock. I listened to Schoolhouse Rock constantly when I was a kid. It was with the Saturday morning cartoons. I know the preamble to the Constitution of the United States, word for fucking word, because of Schoolhouse Rock. I know a number of different principles, and not just about pronouns because of Schoolhouse Rock, although there's an entire Schoolhouse Rock about pronouns for all those people who are like, I don't use pronouns. Oh, yes, you do, because you're not going to say Rufus Xavier Sarsaparilla. You're going to say, he found a kangaroo that followed him home, and now it is his. That's what you're going to do. So, yeah, just foster curiosity and a sense of discovery and wonder, like Jim was saying, and keep asking questions and encouraging them. And I think the one last little button I'll put on this is make them realize that you don't know everything, that you are comfortable saying you don't know everything, and you will set the next generation up to be willing to say, I don't know, but let's go find out. And to be more comfortable sitting with an I don't know until we can find out. Thanks for the question.
$9.99 from Pure Taco. This show helped me deconstruct. I was in school to become a minister before switching to psychology. Super grateful for you guys, and to anyone struggling with deconstruction, it gets better, friends. Thank you so much for the $10. We greatly appreciate it, and appreciate you watching. And congratulations on coming to the dark side. We do have cookies.
And some of those cookies have weed in it, but not for long in Texas. 11 euros from Satcham FIFA. My apologies if that's a pseudonym or something I pronounced wrong, but cool. What if Plato was right? What if democracy inevitably decays into tyranny, not because of the internet or social media, but because the majority of people neither think for themselves nor can be taught to? I can't rule it out. All I can say is, if it turns out that's the case, then we struggle and fight and find a way to reset and start over with a different model. It's like that old quote that democracy is the worst political system except for all the others.
Yeah. Another $10 from Infinite Saxon. I think this individual has given us more than one super chat. If love is just a biochemical illusion, how come my wife can detect sarcasm before I even finish the sentence? Because the two things aren't related.
Nice.
Your wife's ability to detect sarcasm is because she loves you because of that biochemical illusion, and she knows you too well and can read the signs, all of which is because of that biochemical illusion. And I don't know that I would call it a biochemical illusion, because it's not. It's just the way biochemistry works. It is not an illusion. It is reality.
I know you're probably just having fun, Infinite Saxon, but I did a talk about this once, about how to some extent, we are in fact mind readers. And I did this as part of my magic show, the Magic and Skepticism thing, where I was talking about the various ways we talk about and describe intuition. When you're walking through the shopping center, you don't have to put up turn signals. You don't have to tell people when you're going. They can see it from your body language, but it gets weirder than that. How many times have you been driving a car, following someone, and even though you cannot see any aspect of their body, you just know this motherfucker is about to switch lanes without a signal and cut somebody off or cut you off? Or, I mean, you just know. And it's not because you're actually psychic. It's because you're picking up on things and you're not even aware of what you're picking up on. You've driven enough where something is weird. I've seen this before. It's the same type of behavior for somebody who's lost or somebody who's inconsiderate or somebody who caused another right. You're seeing it even without seeing their body. We are mind readers in the sense that we are constantly training our intuition because it's too much fucking work to investigate thoroughly everything. And today is pretty much the same as yesterday. Tomorrow will be pretty much the same again. The things that happen today are likely to happen tomorrow. There are patterns. We're pattern recognition machines. And so the long answer that you didn't really care for, probably care about, is that because we're really, really good at spotting patterns and we're really, really bad at recognizing that we're not as good as we think we are. $10 from Inane Glory. Loving Zen Matt. Arden is the glue that keeps the line running for, yes. Go fuck yourself, Jimmy. Can we get Jim on more often? Absolutely. I'll tell you what the God's honest truth is, even though God's not here to do any of it. Jim hopped in my Twitch while Arden and I were like, hey, I don't have a guest for Wednesday. And I was like, Jim's here. And Arden's like, oh, well, I was looking at these other people. And so I made sure Jim was available. Because Jim's always, I don't know that you've ever had to say no. I always love doing the show with you, but if I had Jim on every week, nobody else would get a shot. So yes, we can have Jim on more. That's easy.
I would not mind. I have fun. It's fun to do it with you. You occasionally get really good callers. Tonight was not a good example of that, but
No.
next time it will be.
No, it was not.
10 pounds from Jessica Doodoo McButtface.
Yes.
Just sending love to all my LGBTQ plus friends and allies, wherever you are. Love you soon. Grow Life is greater than Espion, whoever that is, and Futako. Yes.
Grow Life is greater than Espion. How you like that, Jessica? You didn't even get yours right. It's a Pokemon thing. She's trying to joust with Arden.
But...
$10 from Razor Sharp. Thanks again for the advice. To clarify on the grandma thing, my boundary with her turned into an ultimatum. Respect my trans friends or you lose me as a grandson. If that's where you're comfortable drawing a line, then I support that. And I've done that. For example, my parents were sending me really passive aggressive preachy things I've done videos on it. I've shown the birthday cards they sent me where they're praying for God to stop me no matter what the cost. And I was like, do not send me anything at all in the mail. If you have something important to send me, call me or text me and let me know, and we'll make an arrangement. But everything that comes in my mailbox from you, whether it's a birthday card, a passive-aggressive Bible story, an obituary note for a family member, or a check for $100,000, is going into the trash unread. It's what I need to do to make sure that I can still have some kind of relationship with you, because you don't respect me and you don't respect boundaries. So I'm going to make the boundaries more clear. I'm a fan of anybody making the boundaries that keep their world sane and functional, or as close to it as they can get. Thank you for pulling over and waiting to talk to us.
$10 from Queerly Atheist. Go fuck yourself,
Fergal,
Jimmy.
Fergal,
Burgle. Yes. I had to think about that one for a second.
Also, I got a message back from Paul.
Yeah.
I said, I say edifying and was told you were looking for someone who uses that word. And I said, as does Jim Barrows. And he says, well, that affirms my guess that it's just fundamentalist weirdos. And I said, sweet, but
I was
Jim was
never a
Catholic.
fundamentalist.
Yeah. And he goes, okay, enthusiastic religious weirdos. So Paul has a terrible bias. And here's what needs to happen. The next time, serious, all you regular viewers, listen up, because there's a good chance Paul will not watch the super chats here. So don't tell him. Arden, if we can get Paul on a hang up soon, let's do it. And in the super chats, I would like the regular super chatters to just toss the word edifying in. Just, I think it was a really edifying conversation. Awesome. That was a really, look at it, come dig in. And then you can build it up to the point where it's like, I think it would be really edifying if we had like a picture of a coffee table to go along with Paul's description of what he objects to with coffee. And, we can just have so much fun with it.
It'd be really edifying to have you pronounce Fergal, Burgle, Manickerbugo.
That's true, yes.
$10 from Mr. Baruka 10. Quite the bizarre first half. Things got better in the second half. Hope your days are well. You both. Here's to hope for a return to sanity. Charge forth. Yes. Thank you for the $10, and yes, let's hope for a return to sanity soon.
Definitely. And what is supposedly the final super chat of the day, but I know there's somebody out there who was waiting for me to say, here's the final super chat of the day, so they could get another one in just to make me out to be a liar. I know you're out there waiting, but this is an easy one, and there's no text here, and Arden's already put it down. So $20 from Eric America. If you were trying to get a super chat in to make me a liar, you're not going to get to. If it comes in, though, while we're doing this last little bit, I'll probably still read it. But huge thank you to everybody for tuning in today, and to our callers, and to Jim for keeping me on the straight and narrow and helping me not lose my shit, and for filling in on relatively short notice. We will get Jim back again soon, or as soon as we reasonably can. And we'll get Paul on for an edifying conversation.
I think it would be a very edifying conversation to have, Paul.
Please stay safe. Please make sure if you're going to go out and protest, take off the biometric unlock for your phone. If you're going to take it with you, film when you can and lock that thing down when you can't. Make sure that people know where you are. Make sure that you go with some sort of buddy. And please, peacefully protest. Get loud. Make noise. Change minds. Do not destroy things. Do not give them an excuse to vilify you or us further. See you next time. Patreon.com